I'm about.
No, he said, remember that.
I'm still thinking about it. I haven't forgotten.
I'm not really dead.
Okay. Tori, I'm ready to get started.
Yeah.
I put our norms up here because remember we've been talking about how it hasn't always been smooth when you get here.
Yeah.
And I'd like to remind you that we all agreed to these behaviors at the beginning.
We didn't. In our class, we had to sign up. We sign. We write things down that we say, then we sign them. Because when Cole came into our class, he had to sign our social contract, right, Joseph? And Tori?
I believe you. Because I said I believe you because sometimes when we get a new student in our group, like Daniel, you joined in with us, it changes things a little bit. Layton's new too. We already went over these, so I don't want to go over all of them again. But they're just up here to help you remember that you've agreed to have your best behavior while you're here and to do good listening. Respectful listening.
Got it.
When I'm speaking, you should be listening. Just like if you speak, I will listen to you. Or I'll ask you to wait.
Oh.
Thank you. And Tori raised his hand.
We have this thing in this art class. It's like it's my turn to speak, and you say it's like it's my turn to speak, and we all say it's my turn to listen.
Oh yeah. And so we don't need to say that. I think you know when someone else is speaking.
Ooh, we might forget.
We actually did that. Do you remember? We talked about respectful listening. When someone else is speaking, we look at them and we listen to them. We should even be able to say what they said, sum it up, because that's respectful listening. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I want to go on to our book and get something done today.
We just read that.
We finished reading Beauty's New Beak. Today, our learning target, I will think about different details in a story and tell if they're needed or if they're extra. We're doing this activity today to try to help us figure out about main idea. When you're trying to determine what a book is really about, you've got to think about all the things the book tells you and decide which ones are the most important. What is the book mostly about? Or which ones are just put in there to make it interesting and kind of fun to read? So I kind of made up an activity that I want you to try today to help you work through this. But what you're really doing is trying to think about all the details, the different details, and tell if they're needed details or are they extra. If they weren't there, if they were not there, that detail, would you still be getting what the book is about?
No. Maybe
Yes.
That's what we're thinking about. That's what we're deciding. So each of you, for yourself, need to think about the things you read and decide, does that have to be here? Or is that extra? If it wasn't here, would the book be completely different? That's what we're going to try practicing today. So I'm going to give you some details that I picked out from Beauty's New Beak. They kind of go in order of the book from beginning to end. And I'm going to give you a pencil.
No.
Let me know if yours doesn't work. Okay, so for instance, I'll do the first one to show you what I mean. In Beauty's New Beak, the first detail says, an engineer uses math and science to design and build things. I got that right out of this book. It told me in there that an engineer uses math and science to design and build things. Now I'm thinking about this story about Beauty's New Beak. By the way, I keep calling this a story. Usually we use the word story to mean fiction. But this is not fiction, this is true. But they wrote it in a way that was like a story. They were telling us things that happened in order, and it felt like a story. So that's why I keep calling it a story. And I went to the beginning of it and picked out a detail. An engineer uses math and science to design and build things. That's interesting to me, because I don't really know what an engineer does.
Oh, it designs cars.
But when I think about this book, I don't need to know that for this book. I don't need to know that an engineer uses math and science to design things. I think that's extra. That's just my feeling. So I'm going to take my pencil and write an E next to that. I think that's extra.
Where?
The first one. An engineer uses math and science to design and build things.
I have to put the alphabet down. That's
You
all.
don't have to put an E. You can put a D.
You need to put either an E for extra or an N for needed.
Extra needed.
Mhm.
I put it.
And I was doing the first one to show you my thinking. I think,
Could we all do we usually take turns?
even though that's interesting,
Look at my.
even though I think that's interesting that that's what an engineer does, I don't think I have to know that
Well, you.
to know that
Can I have an
Nate,
eraser?
the guy Nate, is going to. No, not right now.
If you didn't have that, it wouldn't be extra. Like that's extra information.
Did you raise your hand? Okay. Let me do one more, and then I'll call on someone to try it. I'm now looking at the second one. Nate, an engineer, learned about an eagle that needed help. Now, if that wasn't in this book, if I didn't find out that Nate learned about the eagle, then this book could not have happened. If we never met Nate, if Nate never met Beauty,
That
would've
means
died.
Beauty would die.
this book would not even exist. So that one, I think, is absolutely needed.
Who named her Beauty?
I'm going to put an N there.
Beauty and the Beast.
I think number 2 is needed.
I'd put.
Letter B is needed. We couldn't have the book without that one.
Is something blowing on me or something?
Can you please stop tapping? So, Daniel, why did I put an N next to Nate, an engineer, learned about an eagle that needed help?
Because Nate's the one who saved the life.
And
And bring it to the.
what if Nate never met that bird?
That book would never.
That book wouldn't even have happened. This true story would not even have happened if Nate
Or
never
she would have died.
found out about Beauty.
Or she would have died.
So, Joseph, what did you put next to that one?
And
And why did you put an N?
because without Nate, Beauty would just die, and that would
So what does that N stand for?
be needed.
I think that detail is needed. That's an important detail. Tori, what'd you put next to it?
The eraser.
Uh-huh.
I put a D for
Your choices are E for extra information or an N for needed information.
my bad. I thought it was. I need an eraser.
Here, mine. Oh, no.
Eraser.
Oh, I got
I
it.
dropped this. I dropped this.
Mine got to a face.